Hey, how's it? I'm Dan. And in the fall of 2006, just a few months after graduating from film school, I had the distinct and life-changing privilege and opportunity to meet the Reverend Dr. Robert Mbinda from Mumbai, Tanzania. Heartbreakingly, just 10 years later, Robert passed away. So this isn't meant to be a comprehensive biography or retrospective on his life and his works. I don't know every little detail. I'm not a scholar or anything like that. I'm just one of the many people that Dr. Mbinda's work impacted in his life. And since my interactions with him started by making videos with him, I thought that just to commemorate his life and reflect on how he impacted my life, making a video about him just felt right at this point. So to back up for a minute to give some context to what this is all about, like I said, I was 22. I had just graduated college the spring of 2006. I had studied writing for film and television, which is a fancy way of saying screenwriting, and narrative video production, which is another fancy way of saying film, at the University of Arts in Philadelphia. Upon graduating, I immediately decided not to pursue that career directly as I originally intended to, go into LA and grinding and, trying to break into the industry. But I did have this skill base and experience under my belt, and I was fresh out of school, and that got me on the radar of the pastor at my mother's Lutheran church outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and Columbia, Maryland at the time, who had a touring reverend from Tanzania on his radar, somebody that they were partnering with to try to spread his message and raise funds for his orphanage, which is the Good Samaritan orphanage that was comprised mostly of AIDS orphans from the area of Mumbai, Tanzania. So Reverend Dr. Robert Mbinda, who I will call Robert from this point forward, was touring through some southern states, and he was going to be in Florida for a little while doing some preaching and fundraising and such. So the pastor in the Columbia, Maryland church knew that I had some video skills, and they had the equipment, and they wanted to make a short little documentary piece to show at an upcoming church service or event or something at the church in Maryland to get the congregation involved, even though Robert wasn't able to make it up to the church at that time. I guess they thought this would be the next best thing. So they enlisted me to travel down to Florida to meet with Robert and his wife Miriam and do sort of an interview documentary piece on him. And before I went, I was just kind of excited for the opportunity. It was my first, not paid, but, expenses paid gig with my, fresh video skills under my belt, and felt like a professional. Actually, that's not true. I did film one wedding in Jersey that summer before, but this felt, more like big time. Like I was doing something that an audience was really going to see. So I headed down to Florida, and it was just such a positive and productive experience. It was something that really kind of reinvigorated a lot of the gravitation towards volunteering and just trying to do good in the community that had been instilled in me from my upbringing and some things that I did as an adult during college. It was right up my alley. Everybody was so nice and accommodating and accepting and supportive. I got to stay, with previously strangers in their house, and they fed me and drove me around, and it was all just very positive in that regard. But also meeting Robert and his wife, who Robert, for one, I believe, went to college and went to seminary in the States, I think in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. But his wife Miriam at the time really didn't speak any English. Regardless, was one of the kindest, sweetest people I ever met. And so was Robert. Just honestly a modern day Gandhi, Mother Teresa type. I mean, I've had the privilege of meeting somebody at that caliber of compassion and kindness and giving, somebody that just inspires everybody around them and puts a smile on their face, would inspire people to want to help in any way that they could, and I was one of them. So we made our video, and I'll have that along with a sort of companion video that went along with it about the community members of that church in Florida giving their testimonials at the time about Robert and his work with his orphanage.
My name is Reverend Dr. Robert Mbinda from Tanzania. My other part is Miriam. Miriam, she's smiling. She's my dear wife. we have dedicated ourselves, our lives, our remaining time to serve the children of God. These poor children who have lost their parents because of AIDS. We come from Tanzania in East African part of the continent, in African continent. In Tanzania, we have a little bit over 2 million children who are orphans of AIDS. We grew up in a very growing church. The church in Tanzania is growing in both areas in Eastern Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya. The church is growing rapidly. And we happen to be part of the growing church. But now, besides seeing the church which is truly growing, we are faced with a situation, with a crisis of AIDS. People dying from AIDS, because of AIDS, and leaving behind a lot of children without proper care, orphans. Children who have been watching their parents dying and their lives falling apart. Of course, we saw that there is a way. On the one hand, we have people who are dying because of AIDS. On the other hand, we have children who are being left behind because of AIDS. Now, shall we help those, the adults who are dying, struggling for their lives? Or shall we help the children who are either some being safe, most of them being safe, and some they have AIDS? We saw a starting point after praying that the good Lord placed in our hearts the ministry to children. So I and my wife Miriam happened to find a way that the only way to help saving the future generation is helping children. That is truly the turning point. And I believe beyond doubt that is the only way out. And we are standing in the formation of the Good Samaritan Orphanage Center was our response to the crisis, to the overwhelming need of responding to the needs of the children who are orphans. We are doing that as Christians. That, for me, is faith in action. But we cannot help and meet all the needs for all the children because the needs are great and the children are many. For the time being, all we can do is we do all that we can, helping those we can at one time. And I think that is the reason why we are looking at, once we have our work plan done with the center, we can be able to accommodate more children and give chances and opportunities for these children to grow and learn. The good Lord has placed us in our hearts a calling for these children, for this ministry, to serve, to love, to give hope, to create a future generation, to give them a chance to grow, to give them a chance to learn, to give them an opportunity to stand on their own and be able to compete in the community, in the society, in the country, equally like any other children. Sifu Mungu, haleluya. Sifu Mungu, amen. Sifu Mungu, haleluya. Sifu Mungu, amen.
Let me tell you about my friend Robert and Miriam. I met Robert in 2001 when he came to the United States on his first fundraising tour for the Good Samaritan Orphanage in Tanzania. He really touched my heart and Debbie's heart, my wife. God touched us in a way that led us to want to do something beyond what we were doing to aid those children.
Well, my name's Andy. I first met Robert when we were in seminary together. It struck up our friendship there, but I can say from my perspective as an Episcopal priest that just not only the friendship with Robert, but his effect on the parish at Holy Cross Church has been wonderful. He has just brought this ministry this need to our attention, and given us a means of being helpful in a very real, life-changing, very practical way.
You know, there are so many orphans over there that are being taken care of by their facility, and if it weren't for them, these children would be out on the streets with no one to care for their needs, their meals. They would go without food, without shelter, and it's just so valuable what they're doing, and we all need to pitch in and do whatever we can to help them.
When I look back over my life and I think about the things that I could have done, or maybe that I should have done, but I didn't do. And when I look at Robert and Miriam, I see, and I say to myself, they are doing what I maybe should have done or could have done and didn't do.
There are many ways of which you can help us as an individual. You can choose to give a certain amount of money to meet the needs of the children. Regardless of whatever you have, there is nothing being regarded as small. Let's work together as sons and daughters of the King for the creation and for the building of God's kingdom now. Thank you, and God bless you.
Sifu Mungu, amen. Nampenda Yesu, wampenda Yesu, wampenda Yesu. Sifu Mungu, amen.
Praise God.
Praise God, hallelujah. Praise God, amen. Praise God, hallelujah. Praise God, amen.
After that initial meeting, I tried to keep in touch with Robert. Mostly it was through these churches that had a more direct link to him, because if I remember correctly, they didn't have, or maybe had intermittent power. They didn't have running water, or again, maybe it was intermittent, and they didn't have the internet at the time. I believe that the orphanage was a donated land and sort of in various states of decomposing army barracks from another time. And the story goes, as far as I know, and again, this is all just coming from what I gleaned. I don't have direct facts and figures in front of me, but Robert was going to be a minister in Tanzania and was in town with his wife and saw the orphans of the AIDS epidemic that were panhandling and begging in the streets, and he decided to take as many as he could into his home at first, and then eventually again was donated this land and these barracks, and they were working on cleaning them up, and he had a lot of big aspirations and visions for what would happen with this space, that it would become not just an orphanage but also a school and, a means to a brighter future than they probably would have had without these opportunities and people to care for them. And I believe at one point he had at least 200 orphans in his care. So pretty soon, back in 2006, when I had finished the video and I really felt like I wanted to keep contributing in some way other than just monetarily, I also had web development under my belt, so I offered to make them a website, an example of which you can see on breathingunderwater.us. And I tried for a while to use that website as a means to spread the word, collect donations. I did a couple presentations at some local Maryland churches to try to raise some money, and we did. In 2008, Robert came back through the States and did another awareness raising and fundraising tour. So I got to sit down with him again, do another interview session, and film his sermon at the church that day. And for a bunch of different reasons, that footage never saw the light of day, so I thought this would be a good place to memorialize some of that too. So before I share that footage and kind of let Robert's message and personality speak for itself, just to kind of wrap up my part of the story with him, and the reason it was so important for me to finally put this together and put this out there is that after that time that I sat down with him in 2008, things moved pretty quickly for me. I ended up changing professions and I moved around a lot. I moved to Hawaii, started a family, and it was just kind of one thing after another. But all during this time, I always had a inkling to want to go out and volunteer or have an extended stay at the orphanage and just do what I could. I have skills in various areas. I thought maybe, I could be part of the education of the orphans, anything I could do. But unfortunately, for a lot of different reasons, that never quite worked out. And then I was just shocked one day to get a message from Mbinda about Robert's passing. So he passed on February 9th, 2016, and it was a catastrophic loss because, like I said, he is the type of person that we mostly read about and, hear about in History Channel documentaries and history books and textbooks about people that have changed the world. I think Robert would be put up there with the Mother Teresas and Gandhis and Nelson Mandelas, etc. of the world had he only been more widely recognized for the work he was doing. But I can attest to the fact that he wasn't at that celebrity status for being a philanthropist and a humanitarian. He definitely deserved it and earned it. And at the very least, I hope that this remembrance of him just keeps his memory alive and the work that he did. His wife, Miriam, is continuing his work with the orphanage. It's still going strong as far as I know. We keep in touch on Facebook, so it seems like she has a lot more access to the internet than before. And again, I'll put a link down below of their existing web presence. And I am thankful that I did get to see Robert and his wife one more time a few years before he died. He was back visiting churches in Maryland. This would have been back in 2011, I believe. He got to meet my family. I got to converse with Miriam a little bit more. She had been working on her English. From what I remember, we just had a nice dinner out and we just got to talk and hang out more like friends than, me being a more formal interviewer and videographer. So it was nice to have that as a final in-person memory. So that's enough for me. I am just going to now feature the 2008 footage of Robert that had been sitting on my hard drives all these years, and I'm glad to finally be able to put this out. I hope that it gives some insight into the wonderful, amazing human being that I knew, and hopefully it will help his memory live on. I just want to thank him for the impact that he had on my life, the inspiration, setting the bar so high for what can be done for others, how to face challenges with grace and gratitude. To me, for the rest of my life, Robert will be the gold standard of what the best of humanity is capable of. So aloha, Robert. You'll be greatly missed, but never forgotten.
Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I greet you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I bring you greetings from the Good Samaritan Orphanage and from the children of God, very innocent children of God whom God had placed their lives in our hands, and day by day we stand to minister to these children. I also bring you greetings from the Church of God in Tanzania, which is growing rapidly and deep-rooted in the Christian faith. Miriam and I are very grateful for the invitation, being invited to St. John's Church, and feel very much honored for the given opportunity this morning to worship and speak to you by sharing the good news of the gospel. I would also like to thank each of you for your love to us during our visit to St. John's. It has been indeed a blessing to me and Miriam. We have been invited in different homes. We have been given every opportunity and happened to come into your lives. We have tested your love. You had truly welcomed us in your lives and in your ministry. We have been well fed and well cared, well clothed, and this, indeed, it is the true Christian love. And above all, I deeply thank you for being so generous in supporting our ministry to the children of God in Tanzania. These very children, as I said, whom God has called us to save. These children, very innocent children of God, who had lost their parents because of AIDS. Now, as I said, God had given us a chance to save these very, very little ones. But again, as I said, these are the children of God, and these are the future generation. You have given yourselves in full commitment to God. This, indeed, is a true generosity. You did what you believed God wanted you to do. You did for the love of God. And with God's help, you did the best you could with what you had, and God was pleased with what you offered. And we are very grateful. Thank you so much for your dedication and commitment in developing a long time and strong relationship and partnership with the Good Samaritan Orphanage. Likewise, we on our side are truly committed to see to it that the goals and objectives of the Good Samaritan Orphanage are fulfilled, and that the Good Samaritan truly becomes a center for growth and development, and that the Good Samaritan becomes a source of leadership, a source of leaders and professionals for the future generation. And we are committed in changing the future generation, as I said. And yes, with God's help and with your help, we can make this big dream come true. Yes, we and you, it is indeed our call to help making a difference in the children's life. These are the future. These are the future generation. By looking into what also the children have done, the wonderful gift they had given to the Good Samaritan children, that is truly touching my heart. And again, it is indeed a blessing. Our Lord Jesus Christ calls us to be his disciples. When you read this passage, which we just read this morning, it talks about some people bringing children to Jesus Christ. That was their passion. They had a heart for these children. But also, on the other hand, their wish was to let these children come to Jesus. And Jesus, pray for these children. Place their hands, admonitions on these children. In the Old Testament, when you see the kind of one placing his hands on the children or on some other people, that is a sign of blessing. So these children, people are concerned on bringing these children of God to Jesus Christ to be blessed, to be prayed. The disciples saw these people, and they, according to the Bible, according to what Matthew says and Mark and Luke, it says the disciples scolded them for doing so. But Jesus Christ, our Savior, saw this and called the children and said, "Let the children come to me, and do not stop them. Because the kingdom of God belongs to such as this." And then he went on by saying, "Remember, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter into it." But before saying what I want to say, Jesus looks at his disciples and looks at the children being brought to him and said, "Let this come to me, because the kingdom of God belongs to such as this." When you look into the Bible, more especially when you look into the teachings of Jesus Christ through the parables and through the miracles being performed in by Jesus Christ in different times, or the main theme through the teachings of Jesus in the parables and through the miracles, it stands to give the whole meaning, explaining about the kingdom of God. That in the ministry, the life of Jesus Christ, yes, he wants to say to them that the kingdom of God is present now, is here. It can be practiced, it can be lived out. You see, through the miracles, Jesus performs healings. The people being led to him, the sick being healed, those with demons being helped, the lepers being cleansed, and the people being preached the good message of the gospel. Now Jesus says, the kingdom of God belongs to the children. Don't stop them. You see, when he says also, whenever you want to come to me, come like a child. If you want to be part of God's kingdom and being given the chance of living side by side with the living God in God's heavenly kingdom, then you got to humble yourself and come to Jesus like a child. Yes, indeed. He says, if you don't make that way, sorry, you'll never make it. This subject, or this topic, if you like, it appears in both three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Both Gospels carry out the same message. Both Gospels talks about these other people bringing the children to Jesus. And both Gospels gives the same reason and purpose why those people brought the children to Jesus, to be prayed for and to be blessed. Again, both Gospels say that the disciples scolded the people. And now, what does that really mean? In other words, the disciples were so angry. That is what they had. Were so angry at seeing these people bringing these children and rebuked the people trying to stop them. In the Bible, in different occasions, you see some people with passion bringing other people to Jesus Christ. And time and again, you see this such act of his disciples stopping them, putting them away, not letting that happen. That is very strange. We stand alone with the disciples of Jesus Christ. We ourselves being the disciples of Jesus Christ. Yes, we have really a given responsibility through our faith that we had to make it possible by bringing God's truth to Jesus Christ. And yes, that is our duty. Once we are called to love God and to surrender our lives to Jesus Christ, yes, that then is a call. Our immediate call. Step out, go in service, serving others, and making Jesus Christ being seen in the lives of others. We cannot just talk about faith. We cannot just talk about the love of God if we cannot live out that kind of love and that kind of faith. Let's do as much as we can by a way of making this faith and this love which we have received, we as disciples of Christ, let's make it being tested, being seen, being lived out. Put that faith in action by bringing others to Jesus Christ. Or else, if we stop it, well, I don't know what kind of a church and what kind of disciples are we going to make. In such act, it seems to me that we always have to seek to show passion, not passion for children. That is our calling. The Gospel of Mark says Jesus was angry. Now you look on the one hand, the disciples are angry. They are trying to stop the children, and Jesus now is angry with his disciples for such an act and calls the children to himself. That's the way how we, the Good Samaritan, happen to have that passion. By seeing the whole situation of those people dying in numbers because of AIDS and leaving children, orphans, behind without property. That's how and when our Lord Jesus Christ placed in our hearts, by that and through that love, make it possible by caring these young adults, by way of leading these young adults to the Christian faith. Yes, we are looking beyond doubt. Yes, we are serious to make it happen. For over the past few years, And along with your help, we have done a number of things. All in all, trying to give hope to these young adults. All in all, trying to give a chance and a privilege for these children to be there, to be loved, to feel they are truly wanted. They feel that they are truly accepted in our lives. These children, the kingdom of God will be and this are the future. And yes, indeed, we've done a number of things through your help and with God's time. We have managed to put up dormitories as a way of housing these children. We've managed to build a staff house, a dining hall, and kitchen for use. We've managed to build a building which contains toilets and bathrooms for use. But along with that, yes, the children of God are being clothed, being fed, and they are well assured with their medication. Above all, their schooling. And yes, we are helping these children through the whole process. Learning is a process. We are very ready to step up and on the second phase by way of seeing that we are starting a technical school so as to give another chance, more chances for these children of God to be equipped, fully equipped with technical skills so as they can make use of such skills by helping themselves but also by helping the community. They can become like any other children. As I said, we want to make it possible, giving these children a chance to become the future leaders, the future generation, the future professionals. Yes, it is possible with your help and with God's help. Lastly, we are looking into the whole situation on the third phase as we are planning and getting ourselves into a whole situation of building a high school, being part of the ministry. That again, it gives more chances for children in the process of learning, but also for the community to make use of such a facility. And yes, by so doing, we are truly giving these children of God, we're giving them hope, giving them a chance for learning. And yes, it can be done with God's help. Both Gospels talks about Jesus being moved with passion and received the children. And yes, indeed, we have that passion for children. It is just my prayer and my wish that these children of God finds a room and a place in your heart. Again, the Gospel talks about Jesus praying for them and blessed these children. As I have said, these both Gospels, they see, again, these children belongs to God's kingdom. And yes, if we cannot humble ourselves to God, we cannot qualify to enter God's heavenly kingdom. That means we will never be with Jesus in the fullness of his kingdom in heaven. One thing which I would like to say to you, again, it comes back to the life and ministry of our Lord Jesus Christ. As it says, if at all, when it comes to the lives of the children, you have been given and presented a very chance and opportunity. Just do it in love. And do it as you do whatever you can do in love and in faith. Yes, we are doing that. for Jesus Christ himself. Take that chance and make it to happen. Yes, that will be more pleasing, and God will be glorified in your lives. Let's join hands all together. Walk out in love and serve the children of God. We are also children of God. Because of that love, let us also show this love towards you. In the name of God the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. My name is Reverend Robert Mbinda, and on my side is my wife, Miriam, and we are all from Tanzania. Miriam and I started the Good Samaritan ministry, being the founders, and I'm the director of this ministry. The Good Samaritan ministry, it caters and cares for children, mainly those children who had lost their parents because of AIDS. So we did find and had a passion for these children. And we thought that at least someone will have to find a way of how to help these children. And I did mention to you some 2 years ago that Tanzania being a country with a population of about 40 million, and now you have a little bit over 2 million children who are orphans. And they are mainly being cared by their grandparents. And so we did find ourselves somehow being caught up in a situation whereby we needed, and someone needed to act so as to help, giving these children hope, helping these children to grow, but also helping these children to learn. That was our turning point in our lives. Having been engaged myself and Miriam in different professions, and myself being as a lecturer, teaching seminaries, and I happened to find it difficult with such a situation, and Miriam being a nurse. And so we said, through prayer and thinking, we came to the point of deciding to start this ministry. This ministry with a very large vision, in a way that this ministry was intended, and still it is, to become a center for growth and development. And yes, we are looking into the whole situation of helping these children to just come to the point when they are ready to face the world, being ready with, fully equipped with the kind of knowledge they need, as we are looking in both ways of helping on the learning side and on also the technical skills as well. That's far more important. That is something which we are looking at. Yes, at the first place we said these children, like any other children, needs to be given the basics so as to make a living, make sure that they have a place to stay, and they have food to eat, they have clothing, they have learning material, school supplies. But besides, we are truly looking into the whole situation of preparing these children to become educators and engaging themselves in different professions, and also that is what brings us to the point of looking into starting a technical technical school, being part of preparing these young adults so as to be ready to serve the community, to serve the society, but also the community be able to make use of the Good Samaritan as we reach to the final and the finishing of our last plan for this ministry. Yeah, that is part of it. Creating awareness is just something which we are doing along with what we do for the children. Yes, is changing the minds of the people to look at life from the different angle positively, and so as to put themselves on the safe side. But besides, as this ministry grows, with the given fact that we will be starting these technical courses very soon, we are also seeing that it's going to be helpful to the community, because whether one likes it or not, I will find that the people from the community will have the chance, the given chance, of making use of this facility. And yes, our students will be in the learning process and acquiring these technical skills. But at the meantime, they will be, truly speaking, they will be producing things from, in the process of learning. And yes, that is going to be benefiting to the community, but also the community will have a chance of taking short courses at the center. So that will be very much beneficial in both sides. Yes, indeed. In the year 2006, we came for one reason, maybe which it takes two things at a time. But one, we thought it was worth it for us to try to create more chances, and looking into the people and individuals and churches of which we can relate on. They can come into partnership with the Good Samaritan Orphanage. Besides visiting those few churches who have been helping our ministry all along in the past. So it is always good to come back and say, well, thank you, this is what we have done so far, and according to what you had helped in the past, now we are at this particular point. So it was just, coming and visiting those few churches who have been supporting and helping the Good Samaritan ministry, and also with an intention of seeking for more people, as I said, individuals and other churches, to come into relationship with the Good Samaritan. Oh yes, indeed. The year 2006 was very, very successful. And the time we went back, we did a lot of things out of the help what we had received in the year 2006. One of the main areas, that was the time when we happened to be introduced to St. John's Church, and who are now our partner, and they've helped quite a lot. And we truly thank God for the assistance and help which we have received from St. John's Church and so far. And we are done with a lot of things, of which I might, if need be, mention since the time we left and now. The time we went back in the year 2006, we got a number of things being done, as I said. Number one, we got one dormitory being built, a new one, and another one, so it comes to two dormitories, I would say. Very, very new building, and Each contains about 16 rooms, and each room it takes about four children. It was amazing. Again, we got one house, the staff house being done, and it's complete for use. We got the building, another building which contains toilets and bathrooms done, is in use. And the renovation of the existing buildings. Besides, we managed to build a dining hall and kitchen. It's roofed and it's not complete yet. I think the time we go back, we'll look into that so as to get it complete, ready for use. It's a huge dining hall. I mean, it's just amazing. But besides, on top of all, you know, we are managing on terms of looking into saving these children. They are going to school smoothly, and they're well cared with school supplies and uniforms and clothing. And so that is another big step forward. And that, lastly, the time we came, we had about 79 children. Now we had 120 children, and directly at the center, and we have 80 children outside of the center. So it's a total number of 200. Because of the lack of facilities, we cannot accommodate this total number of 200. Of course, yes. And now what we do, in other words, we have accepted these children to be the children of the Good Samaritan after going through a number of things of which we have to look into before having a child being accepted to the center. So they qualify to be at the center, but now they're still either living with their grandparents. But what we are doing with the lack of a number of things, we are supporting these children with school supplies and uniforms and some clothing, and also they do come for their lunch at the center. And so that is how we are supporting these ones who are still outside of the center. These are our children. It gives the number of 200. I tell you, the demand is so high. And yes, all what we are looking at, once we come to the completion of the plan, we'll be in a position of accommodating about 300 children at a time. Yeah, we may take more than that, but we have just set a limit of which we feel now we can afford according to the hands we have. And those few who are working along with us, we have 6 people working along with us. And now taking children from age 5, and of which if we do take under that age, it becomes somehow difficult how to manage the work. And there's a number of other things which are not done yet, and it becomes a little bit difficult. We don't have running water, and we don't have electricity yet. This comes to the second phase, and it's our priority, number 1 priority, as we go back for the next 2 years. Yeah, we are receiving children from age 5.
What's the oldest age that you...
They go up to age 17, 18, they have to leave. By then they are very ready to face the world. And they are equipped with the necessary skills, and then they can just be somebody in the community and make their contribution. Yes. We had a few because the orphanage is only 12 years old, but we have a few. Elijah is one, a young man who is in Dar es Salaam, very much engaged in, he's in the working force, and he's working, he's making a very good kind of life.
How old was he when you started?
What do you say, how? Yeah, he was about 8 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, another one whom I can say, Baraka. Her name is Baraka. She's married, and we helped Baraka to get herself into sewing, and we had taken Baraka in town, and along with Deborah and Devota and Esther and Kellen. These young ladies, we decided, as a matter of our aim is getting into technical skills, and this we didn't have such courses at the center, so we had to take these students to town, and we paid for 6 months. They got through, and now they are working. They're very good in sewing. They're standing on their own feet, and yes, we do. We do. As I said, Baraka is in Morogoro, which is not far from Dar es Salaam, and we do see them quite often. Not very many times, but we do. But yes, we have contacts with them, and they're leading a very good kind of life, and that is what we are up to, and we are praying about it. Yes, indeed. There are a lot of improvement with this new development. It makes the center to be, it's like a new center. I mean, everything is new. It looks great. That's, myself and Miriam are very much satisfied the place where we are. And even the people within the community, it has been an attraction to the community. And now it has helped in a way that now the people from the community, they've had that awareness and the contribution we are making. So they're coming slowly, helping. We have volunteers who are coming to help. But really, there are some very good development. We are very much satisfied. The size of our staff, as I said, we have 6 staff full-time, and we have volunteers. They do come quite often, and you don't have to think that, okay, today I'm going to have 5 or so, but we are very grateful. They are truly helping. From time to time, they just come, especially ladies, they do come to help. Yeah, we have a young man who is very engaged in carpentry, and he helps in making things, and we have another one who is very much good in sewing, and that is part of the preparation as we look forward to start these technical courses. And the rest are very much engaged in the, one is working as a matron somehow, and the cooking, and one is a watchman. And so all in all, what we've done actually is making all this stuff become a working force and be ready to step in wherever you are needed. Not necessarily because you are a carpenter, you have to stick your nose there. But whenever you are needed to do something else, you got to step in to help. I think that is a reality. Now, you see, when I'm talking of starting these technical courses, besides carpentry, we'll have to look into the welding. And welding will have to have, yes, we have earmarked a person who might be coming in for that particular course. And when we talk of computer course, yes, we have earmarked someone to start with. And also it has to do with the other fields, so to say, mechanics, And so we are going to see in the long run having more in numbers when it comes to the staff, working staff. We'll have more. Just meeting those different fields. And along with that, that is the partly for the truly the preparation for the also getting into the third phase, of which we are going to see as we started by building a high school, and of which we are going to have more students and to be part of the ministry. And so surely we are going to have quite a large number of staff in the future. Okay, now I did mention, yes, shortly that we don't have running water and we don't have electricity yet. And this comes into the second phase. So for this phase 2, once we go back, of which we are looking at, number one, we'll have to make sure we are done with the completion of the dining hall and kitchen, as I said. Number 2, which will be really some things to start with, and we are working, we have started working on it, is the water and electricity projects, these 2 projects, of which we are looking in both ways. I had worked along with these 2 companies, electrical power company and the water company. And we are looking into either, when it comes to water, maybe to be connected to the water pipeline, or if at all we can get the water company to drill a well. We are looking either way, what might be cheaper, so we'll go for that. And also we are looking at being hooked to the power line. We also look into the whole situation of the use of solar power, because even if we are hooked to the main power line, we still need solar power so as to reduce the amount of money being paid for utilities, the bills, the monthly bills, you know it. Now, that is something which we are looking at. So water and electricity becomes our number 1 priority as we go. So what comes next is 3 classrooms for technical courses. And again, we are looking into building 2 dormitories, the same as these other 2 dormitories, to house more children, maybe with the goal of reaching that number which I had said earlier, that our target is to accommodate at least 300 children at a time. So we still look forward on building 2 dormitories, and it's within the second phase. But another thing which you are looking at being part of the administration block is the administration block will have 2 or 3 wings, if you like. One wing will have to do with the computer classroom, and the other wing will have to do with a little small library, which is very much important as we grow. And the other side will be a clinic to cater services for the children at the center. And lastly, we are looking into the whole situation of putting up a chapel for worship. And this is just the things which are within the work plan for this second phase. Right. For number 1, which we are done, is it has to do with we had the very existing houses, which were 2, like twins, and in the beginning to start with, and we did the renovation of those 2 houses, and Along with that, as I said, we managed to build 2 dormitories, and which was very, very important, and 1 staff house, and 1 building containing the toilets and bathrooms. But also, besides, we managed to secure a piece of land connecting, which is connected to the Good Samaritan, and that becomes as an expansion for the ministry. Besides, we did manage to have and buy a car for use. Now we can manage to move. We are on wheels. We can just move. You remember, if you can remember what I told you the last 2 years, we did own a Toyota pickup, which was old model, over 27 years old. Yeah, it was over 27 years old. Now, having such a kind of vehicle and with those gravel roads, it was such a terrible, terrible car. At times, it stops on your way, and you have to ask for someone to push you from the back, and it starts moving. But anyhow, now we managed to buy a vehicle. We have a vehicle in use. Those were the things which were covered for this first stage. Now we have moved to the second stage. Okay. And once we are done with the second phase, then we'll go into the last one. We did manage to build 1 staff house, which is a very beautiful house for use. First, as I said to you, it has to do with the number 1, the water and electricity projects, which comes into the second phase. And we didn't finish the first phase with the dining hall and kitchen, which is built already. Mm-hmm. It's not done yet, which of course we'll have to finish within the very first, either 2 months we'll be done with the dining hall, and then we'll get into the second phase, which of course I said the water and electricity, these 2 projects are very, very important for the life of the ministry. And this on top of the list for the second phase. Then it goes along with the technical classrooms, the classrooms for technical skills, plus those 2 other dormitories, 2 other buildings to house more children.
And in phase 3?
Good. In phase 3, which of course we will never start with the last phase unless we are finished with the second phase. In phase 3, what we are looking at actually is starting high school. And we are going to see ourselves putting up a number of buildings, classroom buildings, and for a high school. Now, when I talk of a high school, it's not maybe something which is related to what you know here. When you talk of a high school here, you're talking from grade 9 to 12. When I talk of a high school, according to our situation and our education system, you're talking of grade 13 to 14. That's Form 5, Form 6. Now, by or thereafter, a student is ready to move to the university. And that is the advanced level. Why are we thinking of this advanced level rather than thinking of maybe a secondary school from grade 9 to 12? The country, the government is done, almost done, has done a lot when it comes to primary schools and secondary schools, and of which it becomes somehow available to every child to get a chance to go into primary and secondary education. And yes, for those who does perform well. During their finals, after grade 12, they have to get into 13th grade, of which it becomes difficult because of the fewer number of schools. And yes, exactly. Now we are looking of starting somewhere from above and maybe go down. But again, no one will ever regret if you have gone to the advanced level. You can manage to do any other way. One goes for teaching, training, and come up with a diploma and in teaching, and will be in a position teaching in secondary school also. And also you can, one goes into any other professions. So it's going to give a greater chances for for our children and for the ministry, but also for the community and society. That it reaches to the point of which we are saying we are preparing the leaders, the future leaders and future professionals, and to be of good use for their communities, for the church, and different professions, for them to be such a beneficial to themselves, but more or less to the community. So that is what we are looking at. And it's just my prayer and wish that all these things comes into reality. I do not see why it shouldn't. To the place where we are, I think I'm very much optimistic and very much positive on that. That what we are doing the right thing, and we are going in the right direction, and having done with this first phase, and I'm very sure that we'll be done with the second phase, and then we embark ourselves on the third phase, and we'll see. Yes, we need financial support, and when it comes, let me do it quickly, and for this second phase. When it comes to the second phase, we truly need financial support, but besides, yes, we'll get into the whole situation of a need of some other things besides. For financial support, we are looking at, for the dining hall, in order to complete the dining hall and kitchen building. As I said, we need to get it done as quick as possible. We need about $12,000. And when it comes to the water and electricity, according to the estimation given to me by those two companies, the water company and the power company. And for the water company, their estimation to be connected to the water pipeline, they said if we can manage to get about $10,000, they can do it themselves. It's them to do it. It covers the cost of pipes and labor, so that we can be connected. And for electricity, the power company, they did their measurements, and would need about 15 poles from the power line to the center. And by that, according to the ways they do, it's the client who meets the cost for those pipes and the wires. But they are the ones who does the work, and they are the ones also provides the poles and wires and so on. We need about $20,000, and that partly the $5,000 has to do with the wiring of the existing buildings, and that you have to use an electrician and buying the wires, cables, and the like. So then, for the three classroom for technical courses, we'll need about $45,000. That it can cover the cost of everything for those 3 classrooms. And now, besides, we'll need about $45,000 for the administration block with 3 wings. One has to do with the computer classroom, and the other a library, and on the other side, a clinic being part of the administration block. And we'll need about $50,000 for those 2 dormitories. We are trying our best to cut it down because having worked along with the building contractors, the amount being required for them, it is far beyond. So we have decided just to use our own builders who are doing a very fine job, but we are cutting down the expenses. So we want to make use and wisely for whatever we receive to make the work being done, and so as to lead to the second step. For the chapel, a place for worship, and yes, as we are seeking for growth and development, mentally, physically, and spiritually, we need a worship place, a permanent worship place. Our lives is more or less God-centered, and yes, for the chapel building, we'll need about $18,000. That in total, it gives about $200,000 US. If we get such an amount, we are done with the second phase. And then we are ready to take another step, the last step. Along with that, we'll need some equipments and some other facilities. When it comes to computer classroom, we will need some computers, and as you can think of. And yes, we are looking in both ways and trying to identify in a number of ways where we can tap computers. And yes, with this, we'll need some help. Whoever might be in a position of providing us with some computers, yes, we will receive with open hands. The good thing is, Tanzania being just among the third world countries, and with the introduction of this new technology, computer and so on, the country had made it possible for those who are bringing computers is a tax-free. So you are not, we are not paying tax for receiving computers. So we stand a better chance in receiving computers with tax-free. That is a token of people should be in a position of using computers if need be. Again, all we are looking into, along with other things, is receiving looking for ways of how we can receive, let's say, electrical sewing machines, and we are looking both ways, whether here or elsewhere. And we are looking also for some people like yourself and others who might take their time to work along with us as we grow. And yes, when it comes to manpower, yes, we need skilled persons to work along with us at the Good Samaritan ministry, which is very important. Besides, because learning is a process, and we are working into the whole situation of trying to help our students to be connected to students on this end, so as to keep up with exchanging of information and knowledge. It becomes easier for one to learn from the other. And if need be, some time to have this kind of an exchange programs. And that is the dream, my dream, and let's hope it happens. To start with, our son Tumaini, he's a first-year student doing computer science and engineering Yeah. He he has a heart and his intention to come and help with the teaching when it comes to computer and technical courses. He'll be more useful, and we are thankful for him, and he's such a bright young man, and himself and some other few young people, if at all they are helped and become fully equipped with the necessary skills, they can as you know, as a result, they can be very, very helpful to the ministry and to the community as well. So that's my dream, and that is truly what we are aiming and we're looking at. To be honest, as I said, yes, besides the monetary assistance, we'll need some things. And when it comes to clothing, yes, we have to go and buy clothing. Now, if one becomes so generous by sending, sharing with clothing, blankets, and children wear, that is something which we will be very, very grateful to receive. And also, when it comes to computers and some other things, electrical sewing machines and those machines for knitting, and well, if one sends, because all the way around, you got to think of buying. So if one sends such things, that would be very helpful.
What's the best way to get these things?
Well, if you can send such things through DHL and with a very given address, they can be brought directly to Mbinda, the place where we are. It wouldn't need for myself to go to Dar es Salaam to collect these things. Rather, yes, the shipment is when they are brought by sea, they reach Dar es Salaam. Then they have their trucks, they take the things by their trucks, transport those things wherever they are needed. They have to go, if it's Mbinda or any other direction in the country. So those can be sent either through DHL, that seem to be more reliable. There are other ways of which one can even try to trace and think of, but DHL, I think, is more or less reliable. And not so much so, but all what I might want to say really is that I and Miriam feel very much grateful. We are grateful in the way on how people have responded by way of helping and supporting our efforts. And again, we are looking seriously on being of help, helping the future generation. And the children we are serving are the future generation. We are looking for doing a number of things in different ways to make it workable, to make these young adults fully equipped with the necessary knowledge, and so that they can live on, but also they can become so useful to the community and to the church and during their lifetime. Yes, indeed, according to what we have seen so far, it's like a shining star. Yes, it is a new beginning with a very promising future. And it gives one a courage, and we are very much encouraged. Again, we are very, very thankful when it comes to a church like St. John and other few churches which are helping. They have a good heart. What they are investing is just, I would say that is the best way of investing in the people's and the children's life. These are the future. So every time when I think of the children comes to my heart. These are the future. If we cannot invest well in the lives of these young ones, it's too late. We are messing up with the future. So I'm truly grateful, and I thank the people, all of those who are helping, all of you who are helping on this ministry. You have become truly part of the life of the Good Samaritan. I'm very thankful. And it's a blessing. It's a very blessing to me, to Miriam, and to the children at the Good Samaritan. Again, yes, we had happened to receive some few who have come from U.S. Like last year, we had 3 people who had visited the Good Samaritan. We had a young man from Kent Island here in Maryland. He came and stayed with us for 2 weeks and left. And then we have Father David and Janet from Reisterstown. They came and stayed for 2 weeks and they left. It was this kind of relationship and partnership is far more needed. We have to do that way. It's not us just coming. We'd love to receive people coming and share. Yes, you have such passion and in helping, and well, for those who can manage to come like yourself and others, that would be great to see you and to work with you. We're very much willing and open to work with whoever might be given such a chance to work with us. Thank you. I appreciate it. And God bless you. When I sit down after the long hours of the day and before the end of the day, I thank God for the given and for the blessing of life, and I just thank God the way how He had blessed me, myself, and the way how I am, and giving me another chance to live on and to be of service to others. And I pray for the children of the Good Samaritan, and for their protection. And as they are on the process, learning process, I just pray to see, asking God to help these children to grow in faith and knowledge, and to be ready to become very responsible young adults. Life is so precious. When I think of myself, I think of the children, and I think of others. So I just pray and thank God for the way I am and the way He had given me a chance to serve others, to be of service to others.
About 2.5 years ago, the then church council, as we came to the end of our budget year, we had some funds that were surplus. Those were the good old days, 2.5 years ago, before the economy started tanking, but never mind. We decided that we didn't want to just write a check and send it somewhere, because we'd had a commitment to tithe every year from the receipts from the membership. And so we began praying and reflecting and thinking about what to do with this slight surplus, and thought that and the consensus was that we didn't want to just send it somewhere, but could we use it to begin a relationship with a ministry, an international ministry? Who would have known 2.5 years ago that this is where we would be tonight? And so I would be remiss if I didn't also, before I introduce the Mbindas, Karen, I'm going to do this to you. Would you please stand up? Karen Heist, our executive administrator. Some of you in this room may not know her. She works in our office and manages all of us very well. She manages many of the ministries, and you can sit down now. And she happened to bump into the Mbindas at a retreat center. And who knew? I mean, God laughed and this relationship happened. And without any further introduction to that, I would like to invite Robert. Dr. Mbinda has been in, he and his wife have been in the country, I think, a couple of months now, almost. And we are the last congregation in their visit before they return back home.
His is an interesting life story. I think it's great that so many of our youth are here to hear the story of a man with a doctorate, a PhD, could be doing anything in his home country, and has dedicated his life to really helping launch these children into productive lives and careers as leaders in their own community. So Dr. Mbinda has an introduction. He's going to share with us about the ministry, and then I understand there are some questions. But
It is indeed an honor. We feel, I and Miriam, very much honored to be here tonight and to have the chance of visiting St. John's Church, the church which is supporting and helping our ministry. This relationship, it did happen in God's time and in God's way. We didn't even think that it could happen. Yes, to make it brief, I had spent a couple of years working for God's church, like my brother Brian. And Miriam, she's a nurse by profession, nurse midwife. She had spent a few years working one of the very one referral psychiatric hospital in Tanzania. For a number of years I taught in seminary back in Tanzania. And later on, I and Miriam worked in Botswana for about 6-7 years teaching. So our lives had more or less been spent by working along with God's church and the community as well. It has been a blessing in our lives. And indeed, again, how did it happen and how did we happen to get into this particular ministry? I'm just trying to pick a few things of which I may allow and let you, my friends, asking some questions. Having worked for a number of years in Tanzania and Botswana, now the problem of AIDS started. This killing disease had been claiming a lot of lives all over the continent. It leaves no country safe from this. As a result, it leaves a great number of children being orphans. Now that is the question now which comes to me and to some of the people, that what can one do in such a situation? When you have AIDS claiming lives and malaria is claiming lives, these two diseases becomes truly leading by way of claiming lives, a lot of lives, and leaving a lot of children being orphans. Now, they become orphans not of their own fault. The situation of AIDS, so to speak, is bad in the African continent. Tanzania is among the sub-Saharan countries in the continent, on the south part of the equator, and it's not far from the equator. And now Tanzania itself, being sharing borders with Kenya, my friends from Kenya on the north, and Uganda on the northwest. On the west, you have Rwanda and Burundi. You remember all about the Rwandan genocide, and of all the things which are taking place and happening in Congo. We had, as a result, also we had a lot of refugees from both of those countries in Tanzania. And of the south, we have Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, and you go a little bit down south, you have Zimbabwe, Botswana, up to South Africa. That is the picture of Tanzania. On the east part of Tanzania, you have the Indian Ocean. Tanzania is a country with a population of about 40 million. Now, out of 40 million Tanzanians, a little bit over 2 million children are orphans because of AIDS. Now that is something which truly touched my heart. And I and Miriam started looking seriously praying and thinking of what could one do. Just starting a way, showing a way of which the community, the church, the people can come in trying to serve the future generation. These are the future generation. If we cannot help this future generation, what kind of situation, what kind of society should we expect? What kind of a church should we expect? So, the good Lord touched our hearts, so we had to open our own house to start with. We invited eight children, started giving these children some help, giving them hope and love, helping them to have the chance to go for schooling. We thought this is something which one can do, to start with. Then the need grew up. We pulled up the resources we had, some resources which we had. We walked out and purchased a place where that is the very place where the Good Samaritan is today. So we started. It is truly a very demanding ministry, very challenging. It needs one to do, really work hard. But again, if you can contribute somehow by way of helping some of these children, as I said, you are truly creating a new future, a new generation. And when it comes to the lives of these young ones and my favorite ones, I truly don't dance around. I don't mess it. I adore these young people, these young men and women, and to be in the future time. And indeed now, our aim, as I had said, was just working hard to give these children, giving these children hope, helping these children to grow, helping these children to learn. The Good Samaritan ministry becomes a center for growth and a center for learning. Yes, things are working. And again, with your help, as I had said time and again, the time when we happened to get into relationship with St. John's, it was just God behind all this. And nothing else, what I can say. For the time being, we have about 120 children at the ministry. And about 80 children outside of the ministry. We are looking forward in the next 2 years to start a technical school, which will give these children a chance, a better chance, and the community as well. Some will have a chance to get into learning sewing and knitting and so on. Some will get into, we are going to put up a classroom, a computer class, and have access of being introduced to this new technology. And some will be involved in welding, carpentry, mechanics, electrical course, just to do. We are going to see some becoming electricians and so on. This is something which we are looking for the second phase. This is our vision and this is our dream. And I just pray and hope that this dream will come true. Yes, indeed, as we help these children to reach to the point of letting them go to the world, they are well off, they are better off, they are fully equipped, they are ready to walk out and join hands with other children in the community, save the community, save the society, save the church. Yes, indeed, that is what we're aiming. Without doing so, and without, if we might have not allowed this to happen and leave these children just as they are walking around, go out as they are without being helped. Yes, as a result, we can happen to have the so-called street children, something which I don't like. Now, as a result and a way of making a living, some will certainly be involved in prostitution, drugs, and so on. And that kind of community, that kind of future generation, it's unthinkable. On the third phase, we are looking at starting a high school, being part of the Good Samaritan ministry. All this is aiming, again, on equipping these children, along with the community, getting the chance and the opportunity to use such a facility. We are trying to work hard as to create the future generation fully equipped with every essential skills. Yes, we cannot do it without God's help. As Jesus says in St. John, that without him we can certainly do nothing. With God's help and with your help, we can reach those goals. We met Karen at the Good Shepherd Inn. I don't know for what reason she had come to that particular place. I don't know, because we met for such a short period of time. We talked, and yes, we introduced ourselves and of what we are doing, and yes, Karen said, well, this is such a good ministry, and perhaps my church might need to get into relationship with this Good Samaritan ministry. But again, she said, but again, I'm not in a position of making decisions. They are those ones who are really making decisions. So I cannot make a decision myself. So that is how it did happen. And at a later time, before even leaving, we had a message from St. John that St. John is sending a young man, namely Dan Bell, to come to Florida and to do some filming and some interviews, of which it did happen. That was the beginning. Now we were also presented with a donation of $10,000 from this church. Amazing. We got into this very relationship. We highly appreciate, deep from the bottom of my heart, I do appreciate and thank you for your helping hand. We are here, and the time we happen to learn that we are coming, and we'll be coming to St. John's, we said, well, we cannot wait just to see the people who are supporting our children in our ministry. This now has become a shared ministry between us and St. John. In such a short period of time, what we are working on now is giving the chance of our children to have a better way of communicating with the children of St. John's by way of sharing information, exchanging information. That is going to be another way of learning. One learns something from the other. And it creates an awareness. And again, I had said in different times that whenever one of you has a chance of coming over, you are most welcome. And as you saw on the little film that was showing, David Steiner and his wife Janet, they come from Reisterstown, and they visited us last year. It was sometime in May or so, and spent about 2 weeks, which it was so enjoyable, it was so lovely, and it was so encouraging on our side. Now, again, these given things, which you have presented to us. That it shows to me of how much you care. I always take along with me wherever I go, and it will help with this cold weather. I know how much it can be cold. I spent 3 years at the theological seminary in Pittsburgh. Now, when you talk of winter, I do understand. Yes, we have winter in Tanzania, but not of this kind. There, which is far in the southern part of the country, is a very mountainous place, a lot of mountains. And that is one of the very places which tend to be very cold. And at times during winter season, we have snow on the top of the mountains. And we have birds coming from Australia during winter season to those mountains. By the end of the winter season, they go back. It will be good to see you sometime. Not just praying, not just helping, but also physically to come and share with us. You'll have the chance of also seeing some other things. We have Kilimanjaro Mountain, the tallest mountain in the continent. All these big game reserves, Ngorongoro, Serengeti, and Tanzania, and many others. And also, it's amazing in a way that Lake Nile, which goes up to Egypt, it starts from Lake Victoria, which is the main big piece of the lake is in Tanzania. The other piece is in Kenya. The other piece, Uganda, is a share. So, once again, I truly appreciate, and on behalf of the Good Samaritan Ministry, on behalf of Miriam, we are very thankful for the support which you have given us. We are looking forward on a very strong relationship with St. John's, and we'll always count on you. Thank you. God bless you. And now I truly invite questions. Let's talk this way. Thank you.
What happens when kids come of age? Do they move out? When's their time to?
Age 18, that is the limited age. Children are ready to go out and serve the world. Well prepared and well equipped.
What are plans that are aimed to improve your orphanage?
Some other plans to improve the orphanage. Okay, it's a good question. Two of the things which we are looking at as a way of improving and making things easier, and at times I say bringing a kind of life to the orphanage. It's number one, we are working towards being connected to the water pipeline. We do not have running water for the time being. And number two, we do not have electricity at the center. And all these other technical courses I'm talking about those courses in 2 years' time, starting next year, as we are starting building these classrooms, with a hope also of getting ourselves connected to the power line. Those two are truly very important. But along with that, it's just a matter of providing all the basics, along with what the children themselves do, as to make things easier for themselves.
What is the most common religion of the people in Tanzania?
You're right, thank you. We have the leading religion is Roman Catholic. Those are more in numbers. Then you have Anglicans and Lutherans. And lastly, you have Moravians, who are quite many, especially on the south part of the country. Those four seem to be leading numbers.
What do the children do during the day?
Great. Well, during the day, at school during weekdays, Monday to Friday. They wake up early in the morning and prepare themselves. After breakfast, they run to the school. For those primary school goers and for those secondary school goers, they go to the school. And they come back at around 12:30 for their lunch. They grab their lunch quickly and off they go back to the school. They come back at around 5 in the evening. So that is the cycle for the week. In exception of the weekend. The weekend they are quite busy with some other things and other activities in the center.
What do the kids eat?
Sorry?
What do they eat?
What do they eat?
Okay, good. Well, it's a combination of when it comes to food stuff, and we have corn, which is corn flour. They make out of corn flour. Is that what we call Kenya and Tanzania ugali, and that is stiff porridge, and that it goes along with either beans and vegetables and at times rice, and it's a combination of rice and some vegetables again, and meat, and sometimes chicken, and not quite often. But yes, that is a kind of the daily diet between rice and that stiff porridge. And also we have bananas. You may not know, we have bananas as being part of the meal at times, either fried or cooked, mixed with either beans or meat, or fried, can eat with either meat. It's good. You may have a taste sometime if you can come. I love fried bananas. I love it. They're very good.
What's the weather like in Tanzania?
Well, thank you. Yes, weather is, we have all these 4 seasons, which we have, but when it comes to winter season, it's not as like here, the one you have here. Yes, as I said, in the northern side of the country and in the southern part of the country, northern going even beyond to Kenya, it gets cold, but not as cold as here when you go beyond at times some degrees below 0. No, we don't have that kind of cold weather. It gets cold when it's cold of this kind and a little bit below, and that is at times you just find people putting on simple jackets, sweaters. Yes, it helps. Summertime is a time which, of course, along the coast and in the central part of the country, it's so hot and humid. And in the central part of the country, it's hot and dry. Up south, it's hot. Not as hot as compared to the other parts of the country. And so we have all these seasons, but when it comes to winter, it's not like the winter you have.
Do you ever end up with snow on the ground at the orphanage?
Not at all. As I said earlier, that in the south, yes, the only places you can see snow is on top of the mountains, of which we have immigrant beds coming all the way from Australia. But children, I would say most of the children, they've never seen snow anyhow. So in Mbeya, in the city, yeah, at times I think we happen to find that 1 or 2 different times it was very cold, and in the early morning we did see some bit of snow. Just twice. It was a surprise. Very little. And people didn't know. And what is this? It was very cold, but anyhow, that was just the time which I can remember, but other than that, no. That's why so many people do not know about snow or how it can be bad when it comes to winter season like here. Christmas is a big holiday. And Christmas, the way how I happen to see it here is up there is a little bit different. Yes, Christmas time is a time for worship in both countries. I would say from Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and some other countries in Africa, in the continent. Christmas is mainly celebrated by worship, starting with Christmas Eve. Christmas Day is the big day. I was surprised at the very time I came here. And yes, I went for worship during Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, I said, well, let me just walk over for worship. No people in the church. I said, what is happening here? And there were very few, those, I don't know whether I can say the faithful one, they turn up. And okay, we had a very little worship, but with very few. It was somehow a surprise. But yes, Christmas, Easter, and Independence Day, and those seem to be celebrated during those seasons in the country. Apart to those Muslims with the on the festival, Ramadan, and which is celebrated by the Muslims. But I think that's it.
How do the kids cope with losing their parents?
You can imagine, that is difficult. And that's how we happen to find that it was proper for us to start such a ministry of which these children can manage to have the love of the parents, the new parents. It is a very difficult time for a child. As you can imagine, as I said earlier, that this happens not being of the children's fault. It's not of their fault. It can happen to my own children, as it did happen to someone's child. And that is how I happen to have such a passion for these children, and of which I still believe and encourage people to make it possible by way of helping these children. Because children, they need to be loved, and they need to feel wanted, to be given that love, to be helped, so as they can be no difference with other children who have their own parents. So that is a very trying time for the children. And so that is why someone have to step in and give some help.
What activities do the kids do for fun during the day?
Yes, during daytime, they are very much involved in irrigation and taking care of their vegetables. That is part of the things they have to do. As I said sometime, that there are things which children can do. But there are also other things which some other people can do. And when it comes to the things which are in their own powers and ability, they have to do it. So, raising vegetables, that is something that they do. And times they grow soybeans during rain season. And we have a piece of land, they grow corn. But besides, they have to make sure that the place of their own, where they stay, is clean. So they see to it by way of helping other people who work at the center, and those who comes as volunteers by way of cleaning. Besides, well, playing is part of life. And so partly they make use of their time to play? They enjoy playing soccer, basketball, volleyball. Those are the kinds of games they love the most.
How long have you been running the orphanage?
Well, the orphanage is almost 12 years.
What type of music do kids listen to?
Well. They love Christian songs, and they have very local instruments like drums, and so they make those instruments being made locally and by way of making use of these instruments for singing. So they love Christian songs, and because of that, they have a great contribution to make for the life of the church, because they do visit a number of churches, especially during Sundays. And so it's a great contribution when it comes to the life of the church, which comes out of these children. We are looking for some ways at a later time, when I don't know, to get some few guitars for these fellows. They can make use of these guitars. Some of them, they know how to play guitar, and so we'll try to do that at a later time. But that's it. They love singing. They can sing. Oh yes. It's only that you cannot see. But being given with this camera and starting filming, you'll see that.
Given there are many children in need, how does one get selected?
Good question. That is a difficult part. I'm glad you did ask. When it becomes for choosing the children to be taken to the center, and then you have a number of children, a number of requests, it becomes difficult. Let me give you an example. We had a man who came to the center with a request. He had 16 children being orphans. These were children of his brother. His brother passed away, and he had 3 wives. They all died because of AIDS. Now, that was truly bad. Now, as I said, you have these children, a good number of children. He has his own children. He cannot even manage by way of taking care of his own children. Now, the time we heard this news from this man, I said, this goes beyond. Now, number one, we have to make sure that we have a confirmation from the government official, so as to prove that what is being said is true. And also, at times, we have a proof of a local church. Now, in such a situation which concerns this man, I had to go myself because of these many numbers, 16 numbers. 16 is not truly a joke. So I did go to the very village, and I saw those children. It was true. I talked to the people in the village. I went back. I said, I don't promise that will help, but we'll pray about it and see if we have enough room and facilities for them. Yes, we thought we can try our best to help somehow. We tried to do what one can do, and we had taken 4 children out of those 16, and 12 are still with him. Though those 12 had been taken as our children, but being outside. But the 4 are at the center now. Yes, you'll have to look into the whole situation these children, as I said earlier during my introduction, that mainly they're being left to be cared by their grandparents, who themselves need some help. Now, when you look into the whole situation of these grandparents, that those somehow can still manage, that's when we say, hey, hang on. And we can start supporting by way of sharing education supplies, uniforms, and shoes, and during daytime they can come and have their lunch at the ministry, and off they go. But yes, it is not so easy when you have 10 children who needs to be given the chance to be received, and you have a room for 3, a decision becomes tough. But you have to decide. You have to decide. And some will have to be on the waiting list. God's time. With God's time, they will be taken.
Why can't children younger than 5 live in your orphanage?
If I understand right, that was that you don't take children younger than 5, am I recalling correctly? But they were wondering why that was.
Okay, thank you. I didn't get you properly. Actually, we are taking children from age 5 on. We, for the time being, we are not taking children under age 5 because of one simple reason. We do not have more workers helping at the ministry. And when it comes to younger children, even this of the age 5, age 6 and so on, we tend to mix these children when it comes to their rooms. Every room with 4 children, we have to mix these children so that the older children can help the young ones, more especially at night. It's truly a sharing. And even when it comes to washing their clothes, although they're being also helped by those working at the orphanage, but also they're being helped by the older children. So that is the reason. Possibly time will come, sometime, and some years to come, maybe we can be in a position of receiving those children under 5.
It's kind of a 2-part question. The first question is, are all the children HIV negative? And since you've been operating for 12 years, have you had any children graduate from your orphanage that are now helping you or that have gone out and been productive members of society?
Thank you. Thank God that since we have started this ministry, children are being accepted, received in the ministry at the first place. And the second step, we have to take these children to the hospital for testing to make sure that how we can handle these children. With the thinking that if a child happened to be HIV positive, we can see for some other ways on how we can help this child. But God has been so gracious and merciful. For the time being, we have never encountered with such a case. Recently, 2 years ago, we did receive a child. Her name is Rachel, and after her parents died of AIDS, she was in a very terrible condition with rashes all over. And there was no one to take care of this little girl. So I said, yes, for this is truly an exceptional thing, and we can take Rachel right away. We have taken that young lady, and we certainly said, I and Miriam, we certainly said, here is a case, it's a new case, but we'll see how we can handle it. So we had taken Rachel to the hospital for testing, and to our surprise, Rachel was, the test showed negative. We stayed for 3 months, and we took the child to the hospital again for test. The test showed negative. We stayed for another 3 months. We took the child again for testing. It was negative. God is good. But we are very prepared in whatever situation we may happen to find ourselves in as the ministry grows. If at all, if we happen to have any child who is HIV positive, as I said, we are very prepared just to help such a child. Because we believe that with such help, they can live longer. And so that is our belief. And yes, we have a few, because I said this ministry is about 12 years old. We have very few who have left. We had one young lady who was just graduated, and we had helped this young lady by way of sending her to teachers training college, and graduated, and she was involved in a car accident, and she died. That is something which, of course, it was a big loss to us. And again, it was part of our preparation of seeing that in the very near future we are embarking ourselves in with this school, looking forward to start this school. Okay, we said, okay, we have to start preparing those teachers to be. Although we might we'll be receiving some teachers from different training colleges and so on. But we said, at least we must have our own. That was a big loss. We have a few who are now out. We have one, Elijah. We have the contacts, and he's in Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam is a big city. He did find a job in Dar es Salaam. He's a very happy young man, very committed Christian, and he has some good times. Here is a child who had been helped through the Good Samaritan. Now, without this kind of help, as I said earlier, you can happen to find that his life comes to nothing.
How do they get their water?
Yeah, I did explain that before. Okay, 2 ways. Number one, we have a well at the center, which is about 58 feet deep. Out of that well, we do receive water, which is not so good for drinking. That kind of water is being used for washing and for irrigation when it comes to the garden. But again, one of the responsibilities for the children, they have to go in a distance of about 3 miles away with a bicycle, carrying some containers to fetch water for drinking. So that is something which, of course, children have to do. And that's the source, the way of getting water for the time being. That is why I said we are trying to see to it that soon we may have a proper source of water, or else life is going to be very, very difficult, and it's going to be unmanageable. But it is just my hope that a solution will be found soon, in God's time.
Robert was sharing with us at dinner that when these kids go to get the water, it's not that they just go and pick up a bottle of water, but they take jugs with them, and each jug is about 20 liters. And they will have one jug on one side and the other jug on the other side. So they'll be coming back with 40 liters of water, which if you do that quick math in your head, you're talking 20 2-liter bottles of water a kid is going to be bringing back. Yeah,
Every pound.
So, you know, if you feel thirsty and you walk to your fridge, and thank God for that gift that you have, and remember the folks in Tanzania and how our support can, hopefully soon, they'll have running water coming to the orphanage. So,
Yes, I hope so.
yeah. The other part I just want to share is that, as many of you know, we do the World Vision's 30-hour famine, and we've been doing that since 95 or 6. About 20 some odd years ago, Robert was one of the project coordinators in Tanzania, so he had the responsibility of receiving the gifts that came from people like us and around the world, and then actually figuring out which people, which villages, which places would receive those funds to be able to do the project that they wanted to do and get the support for. So for me, that's been a neat thing to have that connection, just to see. We've been working on sending those monies off, and now we get to meet 2 folks that have been on the receiving end of that and being able to share it. So that's wonderful.
Yes, indeed. Part of my life, yes, 2 years were spent working along with World Vision International. I was given the responsibility of working along with villages, trying to help the people in those particular villages to identify the problems within their lives and within their community. And by so doing, we had to make a number of things, and in different times, as a way of trying to educate, and leading to the point of now, if you would like to have one problem solved among the 10, what would that be? Then it has to come out of themselves. Thereafter, we have to start working again along with them, and so as to come to the point of what are the things which they themselves can do, and what are the things which are beyond. And so, starting with there, so we said, okay, that is when it came to my time of proposing a number of projects to be sponsored by World Vision International, along with what would be the contribution, the local contribution, and what should be contributed by World Vision International. For those 2 years, yes, I was involved.
Robert, thank you very much. Miriam, thank you as well for the work that you do.